Okay. What are baddies? No jokes. I don't like that word baddies because it implies negativity, but I also know that that word does not actually mean that. But implication is enough for me. Implication is enough. So, welcome back to another video, guys. We are back on lessons and law. And I just need to double check, make sure that I'm actually live, because could be talking to nothing, which wouldn't be too bad, because I'd rather be talking to nothing than a whole bunch of somethings. Okay. Baddies. No jokes. I don't like that word baddies because it implies negativity, but I also know that that word does not actually mean that. Implication is enough for me. Implication is the video is really choppy, but okay, go off. So I hate when that shit is choppy because it just ruins the enjoyment a little bit, you know what I mean? Obviously, I know that majority of people, if you genuinely enjoy the video, you're going to ignore the choppiness anyway. But still, it ruins the video for me. It ruins the video. It's not cute. It's not cute. Keep it on mute. So, yeah. Are we still good? Like, because it looks like it's frozen on my end. This is, unpleasant. There we go. Well, the video is really choppy, but okay, go on. So, yeah, we're good. We're good. That's good enough for me. So yeah, welcome back to another episode of Lessons in Law, guys. Today, number 5 is talking about, well, as you can tell from the thumbnail, if you read the thumbnail, we've got the thumbs up and we've got the thumbs down. So it's going to be based on your own perspective, your own way of feeling, your own emotional stance on something, right? If number 2, because we got 1 and 2, which is like the similar energy or similar space as 4 and 5, 3 being like 6, you know, because in actuality 3 is actually, yeah, that's another video a little bit. In actuality though, 3 is just a representation of 1. This is why we have the Holy Trinity, you know, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. It's a representation of one being. So you in yourself, you have your own Father, Son, and then Spirit. The 3 aspects of you that make up yourself, or your spirit, mind, and then body. So those are your Father, Son, and your Spirit. Yeah, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But they do it like backwards. I don't know what the heck that is, like, because it's like you put the Father first, the Son second, and then the Holy Spirit last, when really it's technically the Holy Spirit first, then the Father, and then the Son. So I don't know what's going on there, but no, I do know what's going on there. That's shadow government. They want you guys to be living backwards, you know. They want you guys to put your spirit underneath your Father and your Son, aka they want you to put your mind, aka your likes and your dislikes, the things you pay attention to, the things that you're aware of, and your body, aka your desires, your needs, your wants. They want you to put those above your spirit, above the Holy Spirit. So that's why they say Father, Son, and then Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? You didn't know, now you know. You didn't know, now you know, babes. So that's a little bit of something for you guys to kind of get an idea of the lead up, okay? Because when we get into five is just another more expanded aspect of number two. Two being relatability and emotions, right? So you have the one, which is the individual idea. Two, the relatability, the emotions, like the emotional, like relatability of it. So you feel like you can connect to someone else and relate to them. So that's a way of feeling in itself when you're able to relate to someone because you feel connected to them, you know. So that's why we say connect to, you know, like all of these things are tied in. And then when we get to five, this is a more expanded version of this. So not only have you related to something, which is number two, and not only have that something that you're related to has been in a space, which is number three, an environment, right? A greater aspect of whatever you are in. And then we've gone on to the four, which is what? That's your mind. So that's your thoughts, how you've seen that thing. So you've been in that space, you've had an idea and a feeling within that space that you're in, and then you've jumped into the four, like we said in the last video, and this is you being like, okay, well, this is how I see this space now. This is what I've gained from this space for me to be able to look down. That's why four even has that shape. It goes up and then it goes down and then it goes that way. So it's like almost like if you imagine the energy of what you would be if you were a four, right? You'd be looking down at that three, you know, because the four is like that. Like, if that makes sense to anyone. I mean, some people might go over you guys' head, but if you know, then you know. You know, the energy is the energy. So that four is like, you know, it's like looking, and that's why as well, four is facing to the left, you know, so they face it to the left because it's now separate from the three. It's gone beyond that three. So now it is its own thing. It's able to look at the three and it's in its own three, which would be the number six. But we'll get into that once we get into the sixth video, you know. And so the five is how you feel about that. So you've got the four. Okay, I've gone through this experience. I know this experience now. I've got wisdom. I've got foreknowledge about this experience. So if I was to ever go through this experience again, then I'd be like, okay, I know the ins and the outs of what I would like to do in this experience and what knowledge to use in each of those moments of that experience. Now, when we're moving on to the five, this is like, okay, well, do I like this experience? Do I want this experience more in my life? Do I not want this experience in my life? Or the many different aspects in between, because some people might like it, but yet they may overindulge and they keep going back to it, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. You might not like it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you might not like it, and then you may like overly go into it. Sorry, I was meant to say with the last one, some people may like it, but they don't actually indulge or give themselves the time of day to actually do that. And then vice versa with the people who don't like it, right? And then on the flip side, you know, when it comes to getting into the number six after the five, we'll give a little sneak peek for the next one, little sneak peek for the next video, is now you've figured out whether or not you like it or you don't like it, and that's now creating by default, you know, it's not like you initiated that. By default, you've developed, you are in a space, you are in an environment because you've had that idea, you've had that overall idea, that foreknowledge, and you've had that five, which is like, okay, well, this is the five of how I relate to this on a personal level, on a mental level, where I'm like, okay, I don't fuck with this. Okay, I do fuck with this, whatever it may be, you know. Now that's by default entails whatever space you are in. So that's going to be based on what you experience, what you start to pay attention to based on your foreknowledge and the way you felt, okay, whether or not you liked it or you disliked it, right? So all of this stuff is the number five. The number five, as we can tell. And we are 10 minutes in. That is crazy. That is so crazy because 10 is like my number. It's my power number in numerology. So when it comes to us getting into 10 minutes, now we can get into the proper video, you know. So, being 5, being those lessons and laws, I'm going to go through in this video about, my own personal experiences with your likes and your dislikes, my own personal perspective, as well as like things that I may have learned from other people, such as Dollar to Parliament on YouTube, shout out to him, and how that has, because at the end of the day, I won't talk about shit unless I actually have experienced it in a personal level anyway. So even if I have watched someone on YouTube or whatever, let's say I've learned something from them, I don't like to even talk or go into that unless I have developed enough experiences within that area. Because it's one thing to know something, right? And number 4, it's one thing to know something, but for you to have that 5, aka to know whether or not you like it or dislike it, or to even have an emotional stance on it because you've gone through that experience, right? So that's also another thing that is equated to 5, is the experience, the wisdom. Like all of this kind of stuff is related to 5. This is why us as humans, we also have 5 fingers, We have a lot of experiences, and a lot of people will say humans are the top of the food chain or whatever the fuck, which is arguable, But it represents the amount of experience we have. So the amount of experience we have is now translated into our physical with what we can do. We have 5 fingers. We're able to manipulate things more because we have more ligaments, like stuff like that. And that can go physically or spiritually, You have more mental ligaments, aka you're able to think further. You're able to expand and think in more complex per se, because I don't even consider humans complex. That's why I put these things in air quotes, because I don't really consider humans as complex. I consider them as very simple. If anything, they're like a lot more closer to animals than they like to give themselves credit for. And that's not just me saying that, because I know a lot of people say that just because of like some kind of like maybe chip on their shoulder or bad experience they've had with a lot of humans, and so then they'll be like, oh well, humans are very animalistic because of this way that they treat other people, which that can be true. Like for example, the fact that we only just stopped going to war, like how long ago, you know what I mean? But I say we, but I don't know if I can really include myself into that, so I want to kind of separate from myself from that we a little bit, because personally I've had enough experiences in my life that's really separated me from the human experience. Even when I thought that I was going through very human type things, I started to realize through my experiences, I was like, okay, this ain't really human, because a lot of people who I knew that were human will be looking at me like, what the fuck? They'd be trying to wrap their head around it, and I'm like, okay, well, I thought this was normal. I thought you guys, I thought this was what like we did, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know, maybe this is not something that we do. Like maybe we is not a thing, maybe, or we is you guys, and then I thought that you guys did something, but actually it was just me, So that's why I'm like, that's where I had to be a little bit careful. So I was like, no, back up, like don't associate too much with that energy of humanity, and not in like the humanitarian way, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people be like, oh, like, so you don't believe in humanitarianism? Like, bitch, what the fuck? And that is my point. That is my point right there. That heart, like, if you thought like that, that is part of the reason why I was saying that humans are closer to animals, because like it's certain things that you will be saying, like, and that humans will take it like to this end of the world, and then they take it to that end of the world. Now they're talking about some kind of like ice wall at the edge of the world, and apparently we're surrounded like an ice wall, and then if you break past that ice wall, that now you're in hell, like a physical representation of hell. Like it's all kinds of shit. So enough of that, a little bit of rambling there. Honestly, I felt like I was rambling for a lot longer than I really was, but I was just 2 minutes. That was just, oh wait, no, it was 15 minutes. My bad. It was 5 minutes, sorry. 5 minutes. So yeah, back into the number 5 minutes, when it comes to the experience, right? The wisdom that you gain from that, because this comes from you not only being in a space and being able to have your own individual idea relating to something, and then having realization, oh my gosh, I'm in a space, I'm in an environment. You know what I mean? Now you're like, okay, well, I now know what this environment entails. So that's back to the 4, and then the 5. You're like, okay, well, now that I know that, I have this wisdom. I have this wisdom from what I've gone through, what I've gained, and I also am able to have that foresight, that foreknowledge, to be able to see things even in situations that may be similar, and they might not be exactly the same. So this will grant you that kind of ability when it comes to the 5 in numerology. And this is like the 5 in general. This is not numerology per se. This is what numerology is based off of. But you can apply this to numerology too, because this is just the number itself. This is what the essence of 5 is when I'm explaining it in this video. I'm explaining what the essence of the energy of the number 5. So, what up?
No, I have the spray bottle now because in the morning you put the bed in front of your door, so I can't get it.
Hold on.
Okay. I tried to get it this morning. You can put the bed in front of your door.
Yeah, on purpose. Wow, that was a terrible catch.
Nice catch, cheer. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh, what is it? You know the string for my greenstone? Can we make it?
Yeah, but yeah. Oh, love you. Don't mind that, guys. Sorry about that. But back into the video before I was so rudely interrupted. No jokes. I don't really give a shit. I don't really give a shit. Do I though? I'm just convincing myself, in all honesty. I really don't like it when people interrupt me. But a lot of people are not on the same kind of time frame, on the same kind of time zone as me. So, a lot of people be interrupting. Because I don't be on I try to stay far away from any kind of demonic times, demon times, But at the same time, I've been in that demonic energy for a certain, chunk of my life. So I also remember, and know where, I might have planted those seeds. I might have planted those experiences. And that comes with my own wisdom, And a lot of people wouldn't be able to apply that. A lot of people would just point the finger, try to blame, try to say that it was that person's fault or this person's fault because this happened. In actuality, it may just be the fact that you invested a whole shit ton of time within that energy or within that space, and that led to the situation playing out the way it was. So I can't be too harsh, but at the same time, it's about, balance between like that and boundaries, like what the fuck? Because sometimes, you may go too far into that side where you're like, okay, fuck you, like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, how dare you interrupt my space? Or other times you may go too far and be like, oh, like, it's okay. But then you've got to pull yourself back and be like, hold on. I gave a little bit too much of myself here. I need to pull myself back a little bit, reel it in like a fishing rod, and realize, okay, next time I need to be a little bit more stern, a little bit more quickly, rather than allowing things to play out. And that's when you have that real wisdom and knowledge, and you're able to actually deal with things that you dislike on a lot more of a better standard, because now instead of focusing on the actual thing that you dislike, you're focusing on how did that thing that I dislike even come into my reality in the first place. Because in some way, shape or form, if I know the idea, the relatability and the environment, and then I know the foreknowledge about that, and I also know my likes and dislikes, in some way, shape, or form, I now know that all of these things have played a part in my experience, in my number six, in my things that I'm able to pay attention to, right? So, oh my gosh, don't mind me, guys. So, you know, as you're paying attention to these things, don't apply too much of a feeling to it. Don't put so much of your five to that thing. Because, it's okay to have that five, have that like and dislike, have that experience, have that internal mental stance on it. You know what I mean? But if you have too much of a mental emotional stance on it, you're going to develop more of that six, aka you're going to develop more of that experience being paid attention to, right? And I really tried not to go too deep into six because I wanted to save it for the next video, but it's all right. It's not that big of a deal, and it also it matters when it comes to this number five. It kind of matters as I'm starting to explain it more and more. I'm starting to notice how they kind of almost go hand in hand, similar to the two. Because with the two, if you're relating to someone, then you automatically by default are in a space in order for you to be even relating to each other, right? If you see someone outside, use it within the space of outside. You are in an environment, right? And same with number five, because it's more the expanded aspect of number two. So when you have a like and a dislike, by default, you are relating to something. And then by default, you are within that space that you and that thing are willing to be able to relate to, right? And this is all the mental realm. This is all the mental realm. When we're talking about 4, 5, and then number 6, those are all mental realm type shit. 6 would be like the mind itself, sort of. And this is what you're able to pay attention to. This is why everything is a reflection, because not only is the number 6 is the space that you are in a more expanded sense, in a mental sense, but it's also your mental body, a representation of your mental body, which, it goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. Like how I explained it just before, and then how I explained it being your mental body. So when it comes to this number 5 shit, number 5 is a very powerful number. You can use it for a lot of different things, and you can learn a lot of different things. You can learn a lot of different things from each number and every experience at the end of the day. The more you can learn things from each experience as well, that is how wise you actually are. It's a representation of how wise you actually are as an individual. So the less you're able to learn from each experience, this is showing you still have a little bit more experiences to go through in order for you to start gaining more sustenance from each experience. So you're able to eat better. Whereas if you're in that state of being where you're not learning much from each experience, I guarantee you might even eat like shit. You might eat a whole bunch of takeaway. You might eat a whole bunch of unhealthy food that makes you feel sick if it's not takeaways. You might eat a whole bunch of food that makes you feel constantly tired. All of that shit. Hey, Talia. Thank you for the like. The comment like thing. So yeah, when it comes to number 5 as well, being the likes and dislikes, the experience, the wisdom, this is a representation of your past lives too. Because when it comes to the individual idea and then what you're relating to, that can be more related to the physical, right? Because we got the 1, the 2, and then we got the 3. So those are kind of the third dimension, by, what is it? Common sense assumption or whatever the heck you want to call it, right? But when it comes to The number 4 and the 5, this is more mental, right? This is more intangible type shit. So the 5 would be like, okay, this is like your likes and your dislikes, right? But we know that when it comes to the things that you dislike, especially, you're only in that state of being of disliking something, bar the things that you naturally dislike and you don't know why. But I'm about to tell you why. But bar the things that you naturally dislike and you don't know why, just the things that you develop as dislikes in this life, those are based on if you do something over and over again, eventually you're going to get tired of it, right? And eventually, if you do it so much, it will develop into a dislike. But if you're able to kind of find that middle ground, you can also avoid even getting to that point where it becomes a dislike. But for example, like I played video games all the time when I was a kid, constantly in and out as much as I could. Any opportunity that I could, I would want to play video games, right? And then I got to a certain point as I got older, and I actually started to not even like video games at all. I didn't even like spending my time playing them. Nowadays, I still like to every now and then. Lately, I have been a little bit more than often, but besides the point, you get the idea. I overdid it, and so I started to dislike it. And this can apply every level. So now you go back to the dislikes that you don't know the reason why you dislike them, and now you know the reason why you dislike them. It's because you already did that experience over and over and over again. So if you're the type of person who really hates a certain characteristic, that's a characteristic that you've exhibited and displayed over and over and over again. And that's why you dislike it, because you have done that characteristic way more than any other person that you can look at and be like, I dislike that. Actually, I don't know about way more. That could be up for debate, but I argue probably is. Probably is. So for me, I never really liked fighting, like physical fighting specifically. So I know my past life, I was the fighting queen. You know, I'd be fighting all ins and outs to the point where I must have developed some kind of dislike, and now I don't even like doing that. I don't even like stepping near that energy. None of that. Closest thing I'll do to it is do some little air punches, like, you know, imagination, like, wah, wah, wah. You know, but that's about it. Like, I'm not going to fight nobody unless I need to. But you know, those are the kinds of people that you better watch out from. I don't know if people know that, but generally speaking, people who don't do something, when they do it, you best believe it's going to be a lot more impactful than someone who just constantly does it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm getting at with that. And that goes on all levels, you know. It's like if you've ever had one of those, I remember I had this teacher in school. I didn't ever experience, you know, number 5, I didn't ever experience him being mad or him like losing his shit. So when he did lose his shit, it actually meant something to a lot of people in the class. A lot of people in the class would stop and they would be like, okay, I'm listening. Like, and the reason was because his anger and his frustration had more merit, had more impact based on the fact that he didn't use that. So this is why a lot of people, even like a lot of people who just like kind of throw around things all the time and then it starts to lose. It's like that boy who cried wolf type energy. Because they'll say a whole bunch of stuff, but then their words start to lose their impact, their credibility, right? Because they just said it that many times. It's like, okay, well, when you're actually gonna fucking start taking action, you know what I mean? You say all these things, you think all these things, you blah blah blah, but in reality, like there's no action, there's no follow through. So that's all that. And I've been in that position myself, especially being a cusp. If you're an air and an earth cusp, specifically Gemini and Taurus cusp, you know this to the most highest degree of anyone who can know this. When you start to say certain things, and then your words start to lose merit because you just constantly say certain things, and maybe other people might not say that to you, but you also know deep down that the amount of times you've gone through that experience and how many times you've said shit and it has actually not been followed through with action, right? That's like a textbook air and earth cusp right there, specifically Gemini and Taurus cusp. Textbook Gemini Taurus cusp. So you guys will know that better than anyone. Well, us, because I'm included in that. I'm a Gemini Taurus cusp. So, when it comes to this, you can also look at, okay, well, what are your likes and your dislikes? And this can also show you your own experiences that you may not be able to remember physically, but just the fact that you have likes and dislikes is showing you those things come from a certain space. Because everything happens for a reason. A lot of people will be like, oh, no, you're just putting meaning to stuff that's meaningless. But no, you're actually, I'm gonna be real, like, if you think that I'm putting meaning to stuff that's meaningless, you're probably a little bit stupid in the head, like, honestly. Because I just explained in very clear detail about where your dislikes come from. And you even know that that is exactly where dislikes come from. But yeah, you'll still chalk it up to like, oh, well, we just don't know where the other dislikes that we naturally have come from. No, I'm telling you where the fuck those natural dislikes come from. So whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. But you're stupid if you don't. So that's on period. I'm not trying to be like rude about it, but I also need to be honest because I don't want to sugarcoat it for you, baby. I don't wanna sugarcoat it for you, baby. Because I don't wanna sugarcoat it for you, baby. But yeah, that's a little breakdown of our number 5 here. So trying to think anything else that I missed when it came to the number 5, okay? Also, 5 and 2, they're feminine. They're feminine numbers too. So, feminine, what is feminine? A lot of people will hear that, they'll be like, okay, how the fuck can a number be feminine? Right? A masculine is just another way of saying, like, externalize or singular or direct. And then feminine is just another way of saying internalized or multiple or indirect. So these are feminine and masculine. So 5 and 2 being indirect numbers, right? And also being internal numbers. These are also representations of those feminine internal energies, those internal and indirect energies that we all experience, which is why even wisdom is not necessarily something that you can physically see, but you're able to pick up on whether or not, especially if you're wise, you're able to pick up on whether or not someone has a lot of wisdom or not. Same with knowledge too, but with knowledge, you can kind of externalize that a lot more easier than per se wisdom. For example, when it comes to knowledge, you can still write a bunch of stuff on piece of paper and people will be like, okay, you know a lot of stuff. Or you can say a lot of things and people can be like, oh yes, you know a lot because you've said X, Y, and Z, you know this fact, you know this fact. So it's more tied to the external, even though it has that feminine aspect. It's still something that very much you can display more clearly. You can display it a lot more clairvoyantly, you know? So, when it comes to the feminine as well, this is representing something that you won't always gain from. For example, with masculine, with knowledge, you can actually, a lot more times, you can gain that from gaining, like doing things externally, You can read that book. You can read that web page. All of these things are external things that you can do, right? But when it comes to wisdom, you don't necessarily even have to do something in order to gain wisdom. You could just be like doing something completely unrelated to you gaining wisdom, but by default, you gain wisdom naturally. So that's that indirect feminine kind of aspect coming in there. So by default, you're able to gain wisdom from each of your experiences that you go through. God damn. The yawning is yawning. I think I might go get a glass of water in a sec, but yeah. So, when it comes to all of these things, these can represent who you are, who you were, who you want to become. All of these things, when it comes to the number five, are representing of this. So, this is why as well. I was going to say something and then I realized, no, that's the compass. I was going to say this is why there's 5 points on the compass. Like, babes, there's 4 points on the compass. But okay, go off. Go off. Go off. Freaking eat it up, girl. Eat it up. Like chicken dinner. Beans, greens, and potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram. Well, so, yeah. All of these things can kind of tell you. And you can also gain certain indirect, like I was just saying, you can learn about your past lives through the number five. So that's another indirect energy. So you're able to receive things that are not so direct, not so clear. They're a little bit more vague. They're a little bit more feminine, right? You're able to see those and be like, okay, yes, now I know. And you're able to take the masculine out of that. Okay, you're able to take the 4, the 1, or the 7 out of that 5. So you're able to develop your own idea. You're able to gain knowledge or foresight over it. And you're able to separate and kind of judge that from the outside looking in, or judge whether that is something that is fit for you from the outside looking in, which would be number 7. I'm pretty sure. Have to double check with myself, but I'm pretty sure that's number 7. So, yeah. When it comes to number 5, there's a lot of power you can get from that number 5. Actually, now that deeper I go into this video, there's definitely a lot of power that you can gain and get from the number 5. It's not just, the likes and the dislikes. There's a lot of wisdom and knowledge to be extracted from what you like and you dislike, and why those things even came to be. How you can lessen those things as well, or how you can develop more likes, and less dislikes, because like you may not want to lessen your likes, but you definitely might want to lessen your dislikes. But that also goes to show, if you're someone who finds yourself disliking a lot of things in the world or of the world, that just goes to show how many experiences you've been through. I've always been told my whole life that I was an old soul type shit by a lot of people, especially when I was a kid. Like, I got told by a lot of adults when I was a kid, you're an old soul, you're such an old soul. And obviously as a kid, you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, bitch, I'm me. Like, what do you mean old soul? Like, I didn't realize that souls could be old. But then I got older, I started to notice, wow, I really was like that. And I was showcasing those characteristics. Even though all the way down to it, because now I see things more energetically. I don't see things for physical so much. I'm able to even look at my own characteristics and my personality, certain characteristics and personality traits that I have, that be like an old man type, like that like an old man type of personality or something. It's like funny, like it's funny to me a little bit. But yeah, when I realized that, one, that I was exhibiting those old soul characteristics, right, and those characteristics of kind of almost an old man, but also number 2, there was also that side of me where I was looking at my likes and my dislikes, and I noticed majority of my life when I was younger, I disliked way too much stuff. And I always thought, you're just a hater, you're just a this, you're just that. But no, there was a reason why I disliked a lot of stuff, and that's because I've been through a lot of those experiences. So my spirit, my soul is tired of going through the same experience. And the amount of stuff that I dislike was just a testament of how many years I've actually existed and gone through experiences like these ones that I disliked. You know what I mean? So it's important to pay attention to those kind of things too. Cause bitch, like, don't waste your time on shit that you've already been through. Like your spirit is telling you, bitch, I've been through this shit. I'm so fucking tired. Just let me be. And then you're just like, no, like I'm just gonna push past it. I'm just gonna force myself. But your spirit is fucking tired of that shit. You know what I mean? Your spirit wants something new. That's how I could tell. A lot of people be a lot younger than me spiritually, just based on how they can kind of tolerate certain experiences a lot better than me. And I used to think that I was just like, what is it called? Kind of weak or not able to tolerate certain things. And in a way, I guess you could put it like that, but now I start to realize no, it's not necessarily that. It's that I've been through that shit a lot more. So, even though physically those people may have gone through that experience a lot more than you, for them to still keep going through that experience and not change it shows that mentally and spiritually they haven't been through that enough in order for them to fully separate and disconnect themselves from that experience and move on to something new. So for me, the reason why I had such a deep aversion to so many things and dislike for so many different things in the world was because, bitch, I had done and did that shit. Like, I was tired. I was burnt out. Like, you name it. So, my spirit wanted those new experiences, wanted to grow, wanted to expand, didn't want to stay in the same freaking cocoon. Fucking freaking cocaine. You know, for example, like now I'm struggling. I've been dealing with this dislike of like, okay, I really dislike that I'm in a space, an environment with a whole bunch of energies that doesn't necessarily resonate with where I want to be and where I want to, where I see myself or who I see myself as, right? But that's also a lesson and wisdom to be gained from that too, because I'm like, okay, well, if I'm even in this experience, how many times have I actually been through this experience for me to even dislike it, first of all, and then also for me to have manifested it to this level, this degree? I must have been paying a whole bunch of attention. And that's when you realize you're reaping what you sow, baby. Whatever it is, that's when you realize you're reaping what you sowed. And you sowed a whole bunch of shit. Now it's time to fucking cull the herd, okay? Cull the field. Get that like scythe out, get that robe out, that death robe, and freaking cull that shit. Waka chaka 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 chaka. I guess that probably ties into why I be drawn to wearing raven feathers, right? And then I'm assuming, based on what I just said as well, now that I've got the cockatoo feather, the white feather, right? What is white? White is representing purity, like cleanliness, all of that good shit. So, for me to put on that white feather in the back, I must be building up more of that energy and jumping into more of that space that does resonate with my true state of being. So I'm starting to separate from that energy. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Ha ha ha. Let me go get a glass of water. So yeah, Number five, guys. As you can tell, there's a lot of things I could go into with the number five, you know. Many, many different things, many different areas, love. But I feel like I've covered quite a lot, you know, quite a lot when it comes to this five number. For some reason, I feel like I'm missing something. Like with the other videos, I I get this weird feeling like I explained something, an aspect of it in the other videos that I didn't necessarily explain in here. But then every time I think about that, I go back to no, that was about my experiences. And those experiences also related to that number. And then that makes me think, well, I actually literally did that. So I must be just thinking shit for no reason. Or maybe not, or maybe not. But I'll see after this video. And then I will also, if I need to, I will obviously come and do a part 2. But every other time I've done the video, I haven't done a part 2. I've felt very, very happy, very glad with my video. Bit proud of myself. No. And so it doesn't really matter. Because I know it's most likely going to be 8-1. Whether people like it or dislike it, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, that's your 5. That's not my 5. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, you do what you need to do with your own 5, your own wisdom, your own likes and dislikes. You know? So, and that'll lead you on the right path, whether that leads you away from me or whether that leads you towards me. You know what I mean? That's you and your spirits, you and your spiritual predecessors, you and your spiritual team that you have with you. They're going to lead you towards where you need to be, you know? Same way mine. That's why I don't really hold any even grudges, like, or negative, like, shit towards people, especially people that I've separated from, that I know aren't good for me in my path, or maybe they know that that I'm not good for them in their path. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what the reason was. But deep down, I'm like confident and proud and stand strong in the fact that we are both going towards our righteous path for ourselves. And sometimes that righteousness may look not so righteous to the other person. So it's important to have that discernment too, because a lot of people will be like, oh, well, that person's this and that, and this is why we're not friends anymore. Yeah, that might be true, but also, like, maybe you just aren't compatible. You know, whatever. There could be many, like, bitch, like, I could write a whole fucking list, and then even that list probably wouldn't even be complete. There could be many, many different reasons as to why you guys are not necessarily right for each other. Could be the wrong place, wrong time, right place, wrong time, right place. You know what I mean? Like, that's just 4 reasons. You know, like, there's more, way more. Like, so I don't really see shit like, oh, like, that person's a negative person. Even all the way down to, like, even people who like are narcissistic type qualities, all of that type of shit. I honestly just even see that like, okay, well, you know, they're on their path right now. They're experiencing they're going through that experience as a spirit to know and experience what it's like to be in that narcissistic energy. But that doesn't mean that that spirit is like somehow like tainted or negative, because the spirit can never be tainted, bitch. Like, it's just your mind, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't really attach shit to the spirit like that, you know what I mean? Everybody in spirit, if I'm looking at the spirit, that's pure, that is holy, you know, like, that is holy and pure and godly, you know what I mean? All of that good shit. Not even shit, all of that good. And not even good, just all of that. Like, you can't even, just all of that. It's all that. You know what I mean? It's all that. But when it comes to the mind and the body, okay, I'm going to have some opinions on that. You know what I mean? I'm definitely going to attach some stuff to that. You know, I'm attached to some opinions and some ideas and some feelings and some likes and some dislikes that. But when it comes to the spirit, no, the spirit, aka the being that is being in that mind and body, I could give a flying fuck. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, you have your path, I have mine. You know what I mean? And your path might look hideous. It might look like the last thing that I ever want to experience. Get the fuck away from me. Don't even keep a fucking 10-foot pole in front of me, between me and you, type shit. You know, it could be that. But it's still your path. And I know that you're going to get there one day. You're going to get somewhere. You're going to get wherever you get, you're going to get there. You know, and that's good. That's good. That's good. That's always good to me. So that's why I don't even see like people be like, oh, this is happening in the world. Oh, this is happening in the world. Oh, this negative thing is happening in the world. I'm just like, bitch, like, I just see a whole bunch of people trying to get right, trying to go on their path, trying to find their find their, you know, soul path, whether they're lost or they're not lost, or whether they're, you know, anywhere in between. I just see a whole bunch of people just trying to do that, like that, because that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm just following my path, my purpose, you know what I mean? So once I started to do that, I just stopped seeing all this stuff that people would say, like, oh, like, the world is like this, the world is like that, it's like evil and it's this. Like, don't get me wrong, there's evil in the world, but the world is a collection of beings, a collection of spirits, and spirits are holy and pure. So whether, you know, as spirits, we may not be doing a whole bunch of holy and pure stuff, but bitch, don't forget that we are fucking pure and holy as fuck. So we know what the fuck we're doing, and we know how the fuck to get to where we're going. You know what I mean? May take a lot longer, may look a lot uglier, may look a lot like, ugh, what the fuck are you doing? But the key word here is doing. You doing. You know what I mean? So that's, to me, that's as far as it goes. Like, that's as far as it goes. Like, you doing. You know what I mean? And you might think that you're doing something in order to gain something, for you to do more evil things with that doing. But me, I know that everything has that holy aspect first. So like, you could be doing a whole bunch of evil shit, but deep down I know also, I'm just like, okay, I know, take to like deep down your spirit is actually you wanting to go through these experiences, to experience all these evil things. You obviously need to experience what it's like to get the backlash of being evil and being in that evil energy, and therefore that'll help you as a spirit to realize what you like and dislike, and therefore you'll be more of a space, an environment, have more wisdom, knowledge, whatever it is, to be how you want to be and jump into that energy of what you want to be in. Like, so that's about it for me, you know what I mean? I can't really even see like, don't get me wrong, like I said before, there's evil in the world. There's definitely evil things that people be doing, but whether or not that is actually changing the world and making it evil, yeah, it may look like that, but deep down I'm just like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, I just see a whole bunch of people going through experiences of showing them what to do and what not to do, if that makes sense. I don't know, I'm really trying to explain this in the most clearest possible way, because I don't want people to think, oh, well, this guy's just trying to imagine and disillusion himself into a perspective of like nothing bad's happening and everything's good, and like almost like a manifestation tactic, which it can be. That, like, it can definitely, that's an added benefit, but I'm talking about my actual perspective, like how I actually see it. Like, I'm trying to explain it in like English, you know what I mean? But it's not always easy to explain. So let me know in the comments if you think that was, you know, understandable, if you caught my drift, you know what I mean? But I think I'll finish it here, guys. I think I'll finish it here. So hope you guys have a freaking awesome time wherever the fuck you are, okay? Wherever the fuck. What is this? What is this? Like, peace? Like Buddha hand? Like, I don't know. Apparently I do the Buddha hand out of nowhere. And then you put the hand on the chest, like, that's like, So it's like the space, right? The space and then the environment. So it's like the feminine and then the masculine, right? And then that's you. I just made that up on the spot. I don't know what the fuck, but I like it. I like it. It might be a little bit something that I do, you know. So you got the space, which is the circle, the circumference, right? And then you got the environment, which is like the basically the physical representation of the space as it manifests into the physical, right? And you have you. Then that's you. So that's like your Father, your Son, your Holy Spirit. Or, you know, as you know from the start of the video, that's your Holy Spirit, your Father, and then your Son. Because, bitch, don't ever put the Holy Spirit last. Do not ever put the Holy Spirit last. And I'm not talking about no Christian shit. But it can apply to the Christian shit. You know what I mean? So take it as you will. And I will see you guys for the next video.